Hello, I'm the Eternal Newbie. The extra L is for longevity. As in, this channel has longevity because this is the year anniversary of my channel. That's right, the Eternal Newbie channel has been around for about 1 year now. Time sure does fly. I was planning on marking this momentous occasion with a video about Spotlight players, but I decided to turn that into a series instead. So, time to do what I do best. No, tell a story. Sit back and relax as I get into the story of how our barbarian enjoyed the company of, and now might just be engaged to a queen bee. Before story time, let's get through the business first. If you enjoy this story, I've got tons more. I've also got a new video series on Spotlight players released every Saturday. I've even got a video channel where I'm currently playing through Star Control Origins. Likes, comments, and especially subscribes are totally excellent. Links for all this cool stuff are in the video description. This story takes place in Eberron. I've talked about it a few times before. We have now gone off the rails and are on a mission in the Mournlands. How does one describe the Mournlands?
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
That sums it up nicely. Crazy things happen here. For example, we've met some nice demons who abhor violence, and a seemingly sentient shadow. It's rained teeth, and I'm pretty sure we were walking on a giant's head at some point. The rules go out the window in the Mournlands. Oh, and you can't heal. Our mission is to steal some stuff for some guy we've stolen a lot of stuff from. You see, the heat was getting too much for us, so we had to leave town. Our genius party decides to ask the person we've been stealing from for a mission to get out of town. Luckily, he doesn't appear to know that we're the ones that keep stealing his stuff. Or so it seems. Like I said, geniuses we be. It worked, but he sent us to the Mournlands to get something. One of the strange things we ran into were giant bees. Human-sized, sentient bees. The problem was, the only one of us who could talk to them was Johnson, our barbarian. Johnson is an interesting fellow. He's not known in the party for making the best decisions. As a matter of fact, we have a saying, if Johnson says right, we go left. This saying has served us incredibly well. When we visited a creepy town that the innkeeper tried to cast charm on the party, I wanted to get out of town. Johnson was like, nah, let's stay here. Innkeepers do that. Well, we did stay, and the town ended up being a giant oblix, a creature that basically uses its victims as meat puppets. We got out of town, but just barely. Johnson and Flood, my character, have had a few run-ins, and they aren't the best of friends. Johnson is also the one that brought a beholder down on us, then repeated his action to see if he could make another beholder appear. My point is, Johnson is not known as a good decision maker. He is, however, the only one of us who can cast Speak with Beasts. We are pretty much doomed. At the end of every video, I say, play your character. Don't let your character play you. Now, in character, this is the last thing Flood wants. In character, Flood would rather die than put his fate in Johnson's hands. It would end up being the same thing. Out of character, I really want this to happen. I really want to see what Johnson will do in this situation. Did I mention Johnson doesn't make the best decisions? The bees fly the party into the hive and we meet the queen. She takes Johnson for our leader and questions him about our homeland. The rest of us are seen as servants, and even though the queen is telepathic and she can understand us, she is only talking to Johnson. He is singing like a canary, telling her everything about our homeland. I want to warn him not to talk so much, but I can't because as a servant, my place is to be seen and not heard. He does tell her some very strange things. He explains how kings and lords and queens are figureheads, while the real leaders are the special ops, which just happens to be his background. So she believes he is one of our people's great leaders. That night, he is led to her chambers along with Merla, our bard, who is acting like one of his main servants. There the queen propositions him. Yes, you heard me right. The queen wants to do the dirty with Johnson. He tries to put her off and talk his way out of it, but Johnson is not a talker. After one failed attempt to talk her out of it, he gives in and we fade to black. A very disturbing yet completely hilarious black. Did I mention Johnson doesn't make the best decisions? The next morning, we go on a mission for the Queen. Johnson is acting really weird, but neither he nor Merla are talking. Flood, being a knowledge cleric, notices that something is wrong and wants to know what. How does one gain knowledge when people aren't talking? One reads Johnson's mind, of course. Flood learns everything. He can't help himself. He blurts out, "You put the stinger where?" He says a little too loudly. Now everybody knows. I'd like to say we were all mature and consoled poor Johnson, who was visibly upset. I'd like to say it, but it's not true. A flurry of bee puns came out. Normally, I'm not a big pun fan, but in this case, I happily made an exception. There were a whole bunch of honey jokes, a bestiality joke, getting busy with a bee instead of busy as a bee, and one dashing young cleric asked about the dress code at the wedding. Would it be tuxedo or perhaps yellow jackets? I was a bit proud of that one. Then the monsters came. We were here to get the Queen's scepter and were attacked by 2 flying sharks, 2 flail snails, and an old favorite, the sharkbowl ooze. I'd run into this little beauty in an adventure with Puff and Forrest. If you've not seen it, don't worry. None of them had either. Bunch of jerks don't watch my videos unless they're in it, apparently. If they had, maybe the paladin wouldn't have misty stepped into the ooze. Or maybe he would have. He's not really a metagame type person. I had to bite my tongue when he did that. I knew what it was, but Flood had no clue. So the paladin goes ahead, misty steps right into it like he owns the place, and takes a ton of damage. Luckily, we won this battle, but it was a close thing. Now all that's left is to return the Queen's scepter to her, and then we're done. Did I mention Johnson doesn't make the best decisions? When we get back, the Queen is so impressed with Johnson that now she wants to marry him. Johnson hems and haws and tries to come up with any excuse he can, but the Queen isn't taking no for an answer. It is fun to watch Johnson trying to talk his way out of this one, but he is floundering and Flood takes pity on him, reminding him of our land's custom that engaged couples can't see each other for 2 months before the wedding. Luckily, I roll high enough for her to buy this and we're allowed to leave, promising to bring Johnson back in 2 months. Which we won't do, but that's future me's problem, not mine. Sucker. That was my second run-in with an ooze Shark Tank and the first time I've seen a character engaged with a giant bee. It was a fun time. As I look back over my first year of playing Dungeons & Dragons, the most important lesson I've learned, and the one I would tell other players first, is don't let the game get in the way of having fun. Well, that and don't be afraid to fail. That's a good one too. How about you? What lessons have you learned besides not to hang out with giant bees? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, play your character. Don't let your character play you.